motivation for this webinar was because we noticed that a lot of the success and failures of AI initiatives is on the process management. So you could do a lot of sessions about, which model is the best, if it's GPT-5 or Claude 4, but you will see that there's some stuff that you can do as managers to make sure that your AI initiatives run more successfully in the organization. And we invited two very experienced people to talk to us about their experience. So they're going to share from their experience as managers, how they manage their AI initiatives in their organization. We have Tal here, the VP R&D of Panaya, and Inbal. And Inbal, who is the Senior Director of Machine Learning at Pendo. We're going to talk about, in this webinar, how to identify opportunities, right? So if you have ideas, how do you know what is a good opportunity for generative AI and what you should be aware of when you're looking for these opportunities? And then how do you get your wheels running? And then eventually we're going to talk about, once you chose an initiative, how you're going to get it rolling. And we're going to stop at the POC phase. So we're going to stop where the innovation ends and you're going to move to production. You could do a lot of webinars on how to manage this stuff in production, and we are actually doing some of these. We're not going to talk about production today. We're only going to talk about the innovation. So sorry, Inbal, for giving you the microphone, but you may take it back and talk to us about who is Pendo, what are you doing, and what are you doing with AI?
Hi, so thank you very much, Gad, for inviting me. And so really, Pendo is an all-in-one platform for understanding how your users are using your software. So it's all about finding, especially the weak spots, and guiding the users through to get the maximal value out of the offering that you work so hard to develop. And we have a suite of tools that allow you to analyze the behavioral data, textual responses, and opinions about your product, and also to create guides, watch sessions. So it's really a platform. And what I can tell you that we have AI through our entire product suite. And specifically, I wanted to highlight a very interesting feature that we're working on that involves a generative insight around areas in your product, or automatically find areas in your product that bring you retention of user retention and other business outcomes, such as the upsell, etc. So this is one of many really interesting AI features that we're working on.
And how many people are in your group?
In my group, there are about 10 people. And Pendo as a whole is a company of around 900 people.
And you manage, and you are responsible for the generative AI initiatives in all of the company, right?
Right. So the way organizationally that we are built is there is a core AI group that I head, and also I help other engineering teams to develop AI features.
Nice. And Tal, moving to you, who's Panaya?
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Gad, for inviting me. It's an honor, and we're excited to share those insights. So very short about Panaya. So Panaya has a suite of solutions in assisting to maintain, code, and test business applications, okay, such as familiar with our SAP, Salesforce is a CRM platform, etc. And it's not an IDE, okay, it's a code analytics platform, and we understood, I think, from I think maybe even a year and a half ago, that we can leverage LLM to many things. But I think, as you said, it's a challenge to find the right path and how to move forward. We'll discuss it. That's it.
Nice. So and we have an example more specific of what you do at Panaya with generative AI. I think if we wanted to maybe justify why we're even having this webinar today, because generative AI is not as new as it used to be, and you can see that we probably are past the peak of the hype cycle of AI, right? So when generative AI was new, ChatGPT came out, there was thoughts that we are going to hit AGI really soon, and the whole world is going to change thanks to it. The world did change thanks to it, but still we're not at AGI. People kind of understand better the technology, and this is where actually the more productive initiatives come, when we better understand the technology, when we better understand how it can really help our business. And there are clear winners already. Companies like NVIDIA, clearly a winner from the generative AI revolution. Consulting companies, also there was a great article in the New York Times saying they made a bunch of money from a generative AI project. But then again, maybe Anthropic is a clear winner, maybe OpenAI. So not sure that even OpenAI and Anthropic are clear winners from this generative AI revolution. Definitely not many of the companies that you meet, maybe your company or a competitor, you may use generative AI, but there hasn't been clearly a winner that would say there is no more room for innovation. So you still have room for innovation. And if you do want to sit on the fence and just wait for it to pass, maybe you should be aware that this is, for example, for McKinsey's State of AI, State of Generative AI, you see that the adoption of AI, of generative AI, is increasing a lot. So if you don't want to be on the innovation side, you should be aware that your users are already using generative AI. So you should be trying to do some innovation. And maybe I want to ask, first of all, Tal and then Inbal, let's take you maybe a year back. And companies are like, you hear about ChatGPT for the first time, maybe a little bit more than a year back. How does it look like when, where's the source of innovation coming from? Why are you even doing it? Like, describe to me the feeling of how does it look like for any organization?
Okay, so I think that the AI revolution took us as engineering managers, a bit away from our sweet spot of processes that were well to us. Okay, and then when everyone shouted and still shouting, you look for the technical side to be able to move forward and deliver the great things that are with this new technology. And so there was a bit of a feeling of stress there for us to be able to. So it's not just to. I think shouts described well, because everyone was shouting, but someone had to prompt it, code it, arrange it, test it, and see that it works well. So I think that what we did in Panaya, and I think that's around the area that we started collaborating with TensorOps, is that we wanted to move in small steps. We wanted to find quick wins in areas that we have data, in areas that we can show the organization that the possibilities, maybe even understand the limitations.
Did you?
And do a small step there in order to move forward. And I think that was the confidence in engineering, product, sales, customers, etc.
You have about 70 people in your organization. Sorry to interrupt. Have you done, before the generative AI, any kind of machine learning data science?
No. So Panaya in the past had a data science team, and now does not have. We're building one now. I think it will look different than in, let's say, machine learning team that was 5 or 8 years ago in our industry. So that was another challenge. So we had to see how we bring knowledge in, not wait too much for the learning curve. So yes, that was another stuff. So we have 70 programmers to program traditional programming, but none of them had really experience. I'm not talking just about conversation with the ChatGPT, about building
meaningful applications.
It's meaningful and accurate enough, and monitored features and capabilities with LLM. So that
And so you're representing kind of like an organization that didn't used to do data science, or it had to learn. I want to shift it to, and maybe like in your case, this source of pressure to do machine learning or to do a generative AI comes from the managers. Like they understand that something is going on, the executive team, the board, they want to see generative AI happening, and it's not really coming from the organization because the developers are not necessarily doing that. I want to give to Inbal the opportunity to say, you have an organization that you already were a manager of machine learning at Panda when the generative AI came in. How did it look like in your organization? Was there anything different?
Yes, it was different but similar in the sense that it was new also to us for the folks in the machine learning team, and it caught us by surprise, like everyone else. We were faster to adopt it, to kind of learn and understand it. I think that for us, the challenge was to understand that now AI is democratized and can be done not only by our core team, but also by other engineers.
Very interesting. So you can see like pressure coming in from maybe engineers who want to do innovation, or maybe even blocking, because machine learning was kind of elitistic, and now more people like realizing that more people can actually go and access it, but also coming up from the board. And I will say that and then there's a question of like, how are we starting to do AI? And I will say that a lot of the things is like managing any other initiatives, right? You move from ideation to proof of concept to MVP, better productization. You're trying to move from the cost centers where you're actually spending money on innovation to the value centers where you actually the initiative is giving some value, business value for the company. And in fact, if you think about it, yes, you have the frameworks of innovation that are going to be applicable. We will try to see in this webinar how we can emphasize the generative AI parts. So a lot of the stuff you're going to hear can apply to other stuff, but we will try to give the generative AI specific angle. And maybe if I should start by asking a question is like, okay, I want to do innovation with AI. How do I break the wall between my business potential and AI? And to be honest, Bain & Company responds to this with a very nice answer from the recent survey, which is money, right? Companies are spending on average, the companies that they surveyed at least, on average $5 million per year on AI initiatives. So you're going to spend money. They even say that a large company would spend between $9 million and $18 million a year on average on AI initiatives. So it's obvious that you're going to spend money. The question is, how are you going to spend this money in an efficient way? And to that, you have a few trade-offs, right? You can be on the trade-off that basically doesn't do anything, right? You don't spend money. No, you didn't spend money. No harm's done. And you can be on the other side where you maybe spend it in the wrong way, and then you're getting something like the DPD use case where you released some irresponsible chatbot that trashes on your company. And in between, there is another case that you are spending the money, you're not managing the process well, and then you never get out of the garage with your generative AI initiatives. So the question is, how are you going to manage this risk?
And I want to chime in and add that as written here in the title, if all your POCs succeeded, you have to have POCs and a roadmap for POCs. But if all of them are doing well, then it means you haven't taken enough risk. So it's not something to be proud of.
Right.
That's a great tip for the audience because yes, the generative AI, you are going to fail. You need to realize that you're going to spend the money. I love this one. So it really brings us to the next slide, which says, how are you going to innovate while managing the risk and not instead of managing the risk, right? How are you going to do this innovation while there is risk? And the question to you, maybe, Inbal, is what is even risk when talking about what you should be aware of when doing generative AI initiatives?
So we have here an image from McKinsey, a graph of all the risks that they see in AI. But I can tell you from my perspective, talking to a lot of Pando's customers, the main risk I can divide it into two. One is around the data privacy and security. And they are terrified that their data will be served as training data to other models that then can be served to competitors and to a wider population. They can, like, it could leak secrets, IPs, or things that they don't want their competitors to know, or other things. And it could leak also PII data, things like that. So a lot of questions and questionnaires that I feel around our data security, privacy, and privacy processes. The other part is around actually trusting the model's results and the accuracy of the models, and to understand why the model decided whatever it decided. And this is a risk that we manage together with the product team to make sure that the experiences that we develop around AI are very transparent to the customers. So it's not a black box.
I love what you're saying, because we also noticed that a lot of companies are now finally realizing what's the power of data, as they see, cases like ChatGPT outputting code, and that code was maybe part of repositories like Stack Overflow or GitHub. And now, an OpenAI has a really powerful tool that can generate very high quality code. And then they kind of like, hey, wait, this is my code. It's worth something. And the second part that you're talking about, which is the inaccuracy, also comes up as the first and foremost concern. But you articulated that you need to wrap the experience around the generative AI. And Tal, would you like to talk about, because I know you were concerned again in the beginning a lot with the accuracy of or inaccuracy of the AI models or the generative AI applications. What do you have to say about it today, year and a half past your first experience with generative AI?
So yeah, I think that the mindset of software developers, engineering working is that we work with tools to solve problems, and we try to solve them in high accuracy. We're in 100% accuracy. And I think so in the beginning, we were looking at the answer and saying, oh, I got it wrong. And I think that we're beginning to understand that we have to change. Okay, so I think that applications, the way we converse with machines, is going to change. We have to adopt it. We don't want to try, of course, to create false reasoning or give false answers. But I think that if I look at Panaya's application now, we'll see more areas in which we recommend things to the user. We suggest, and we don't just supply data tables, solved equations. Okay, so I think it's and if you can't maneuver yourself with this inaccuracy, it'll be hard to adopt this technology and these models into your products.
Yeah, I think I love what you're saying, because sorry for jumping on the slide here. Maybe the fear, like the McKinsey survey is kind of emphasizing how much people are afraid of the inaccuracy, but it's actually a feature of generative AI to be inaccurate. It's not really inaccuracy as much as it is maybe creativity. So you may look at like this Pablo Picasso masterpiece, and you would say it's not inaccurate, but it's not that it's not accurate. It's the result of a creative generation. So yes, I think that was a lot of the misconception about generative AI and how much you should care about inaccuracy, where you should actually wrap your experience around that inaccuracy, which is more
and also be very cautious of at the end, how do you build your product with the contribution of large language models, and of course, in which areas are you feeling safe about it, which areas you need to address the user, okay, or even not use it at all, okay, in some areas which are very precise. We'll discuss it later, but it shouldn't be a blocker for this adoption.
And so I understand where's the risk, we understand what you should be aware of. Where do you actually find the initial ideas? So how do you come up with ideation? So we have a survey for the audience, and we wanted to ask you, how do you identify, do you have like rule of thumb on what is a good indicator for generative AI? And do feel free to put in your answers. We'll be looking at it and sharing with it with the team. And in the meanwhile, I can ask Tal, have you identified any rule of thumbs as to what's going to be a good initiative for generative AI?
Yeah. So I think that we need to have a combination. That's what we did. So we looked at the areas when we can not doing by order, but we looked at the area we can bring value, which is new, which is fresh. Okay. We can be more conversational, we can be more proactive, we can analyze text better, we can maybe find areas in which we can create kind of a first conversation. A chat it is an example of that, but we need to be not to run to a chat too soon when you don't have the infrastructure ready to support when it will function very good. Okay, so first of all, it's value and the fact. The second thing is that you have your domain knowledge and confidence on the prompt that you will build to converse with the model, that you will know in very good precision to assess the answer that you're getting, and you can tune it. A good initiative will be available domain expertise, value that will be will affect something that was hard to solve with current programming, etc. Okay, and also the right team and a very narrow scope that you can test and be certain that you're on the right track fast. That would be.
Inbal, any thoughts that you maybe identified as a good opportunity for generative AI?
Yes, so I think there are two good markers. So if you have areas in your product that you can measure that it takes users long time to complete. So it's some kind of task that you may be able to automate. For example, going over a lot of textual reviews and summarizing them or extracting themes out of them. This is a first opportunity that we saw. And another thing is something that actually humans cannot do, like finding patterns that are on a lot of data, too big of a data for a human to go through. And yeah, so that's a good indicator for it might be worthwhile to put AI on top of it. Those are harder to find.
I will say that it also resonates with what we found. So a few ideas that we found, and we kind of like split it into do's and don'ts. So you're talking about stuff that is very human heavy, or stuff that your users or maybe internal users or somebody has to spend a lot of time doing it. And so that's a good indication for this could be a good idea for generative AI. Another one that I noticed is that humans need to stay in the loop. So you don't think about these initiatives where you just send them data to machine and you get an answer and you flow with it. And there is a reason to that. I'm going to talk about it later. But if your initiative includes that the user eventually is going to stay in the loop and you kind of like accelerate or make them more efficient, then that's also a good indication. Of course, unstructured data. No really good use for generative AI when you're talking about maybe very structured data. There is probably good algorithms for that. And then the don'ts are maybe don't go for these high scale, low cost cases. So for example, if you're trying to solve a generative AI case that helps you debug code, like maybe Tal is currently working on, then that's a good case because solving a bug can cost you anything between a few $100s to maybe a few hundreds of thousands of dollars or a few millions. I don't know how much CrowdStrike paid for their bug in production. So if you have an expensive case that you don't have to repeatedly do over and over again, but it's like a heavy task, then that's a good sign that generative AI is going to be a good use case. And that's, of course, because of the cost. And also, I personally do not like cases where there is like you're looking for the right answer. So there is an optimal price, so there is a number, just one number that you need to give back, and that's the only real answer that's going to be accepted.
I can tell you from my experience that there are not a lot of areas where you have only one right answer. So even in classification tasks, if you give human annotators to annotate it, most likely that they will not have all of them the same answer.
I accept that. So maybe there is no good use case for the right answer at all. Maybe if I want to give my angle to why humans have to stay in the loop is, if you think about, this is recently published in Forbes that OpenAI has a 5 stages path towards AGI. AGI is autonomous or artificial general intelligence, which means like computers that can act on their own in the free world and do multiple tasks with higher or equivalent intelligence to humans. And they're saying we're currently in the conversational AI. So if you think about ChatGPT, previous generations of chatbot had to be really written by code, and then maybe AI or machine learning used to combine into a framework that was mostly Python. And then when you're talking about ChatGPT, you're able to create a conversation that is almost fully done by the AI, or fully done by the AI. You don't put in like logic or code-based behavior to support the conversation. But when you jump to maybe decision-making and reasoning, then you're going to frameworks that would be implemented in LangChain. And a lot of the code or a lot of the logic on how you make decisions is actually involving a lot of these traditional methods of deterministic code. It combines with AI, but it's still deterministic. So I think a lot of the use cases that we see are conversational, are very much involving interaction with the user. And still, as much as agentic workflows are very popular, you don't see these cases reaching production. And I think there is a good reason, because the AGI is not there yet. And then if talking about conversational applications, Tal, do you have any thought about that?
So I think that we should start. I will take an example from Panaya. Okay, I think that our first feature was, as Inbal said, around the areas of big text digestion. Okay, and extracting summaries out of that. But I think that the advantage that we get with the LLM, let's look at the GPT engines, for example, is that we get out of the box already, and we can start thinking how we insert a human-like partner into the application. We can move fast in that direction without to program it. And I think the way that we need to think is how we become conversational, how we become proactive, how can we, and I think that it's interesting because we can even deliver it fast by talking to the model itself. So I think that it's not just solving problems or bringing more value, is that we can change the way humans are interacting with the applications, combine these together.
We have an interesting question in the chat here. One, I want to direct it to Inbal, which is, how do you combine product design leaders with the engineers? Specifically around generative AI, were there any, because there is always the question of like how to make product managers like the engineers, which is always a challenge in probably every organization. But is there anything specific to generative AI that you noticed that was interesting, or Tal, you as well, if you want to jump in?
Designing a user experience that incorporates generative AI has, I think, some unique aspects, and making the product designers familiar with this technology and with other solutions that already use generative AI, and like exploring the landscape to understand what exactly are the bits and bytes that are relevant for this feature is very important. Specifically, a lot of things about the quality, like thumbs up, thumbs down, that are whether it should be a part of the experience, or how do we measure quality. It should be a part that is inherent to the experience. And also maybe some kind of transparency of, okay, we have here a summary, but it's very easy for you to go and verify this summary by going over the text itself until you build trust. So I think that building trust in the AI should be incorporated to the user experience.
I see. I hope it answers the question. Keep dropping us questions if you have in the chat. I think it's a good one. Kobe, I think you have also a good question. I'm not sure I understand completely, so if you can rephrase it, it's gonna be interesting to refer to that. Okay, so we understood what to be aware of, what to be careful of. We understood that inaccuracy is something that a lot of companies are concerned with, but maybe they shouldn't be. They should just design the experience around it. And we also understood what could be a good indication to whether your generative AI initiative is going to be successful or not, right? Not choosing those that require an accurate number. Do choose those that have maybe human in the loop and are human heavy. And then, okay, so every company might do a different process in which they are finding the initiative. How do you actually get this ball rolling? How do you come up with this initiative? Maybe it connects to the question that we had about connecting the product and sourcing the ideas. So Tal, what do you pay attention when you kind of like prepared mentally your organization to do generative AI, and you want to actually start finding these initiatives or get the ball rolling, I would say.
So I think that getting the ball rolling in my view is opening up the corridor for more people to be involved and to be able to work in parallel on more initiatives. Okay, and I think that was the area in which we had some. I think that was the area that I had some. I wasn't sure where was the right time to post. Okay, so and our decision there was so we started doing that in one squad, second squad, and then we thought, okay, it's now time to open it up and see how we can leverage these developments in all the organization. We set up training and a hackathon. The hackathon was pre-designed with the product team, which was involved, and the hackathon was a real game changer. So once we finished that, before we didn't have to chase people; they were chasing us. Okay, so on the turnaround, let's say the approach, the mindset was better, skills was better because we gave people time to learn, and that was a very good moment for us. In my view, prompt engineering and building the right pipelines should be a skill that every programmer needs to know how to do. Needs to know how to, and even more accurate, needs to know how to do it in context of their stack in their company. Okay, so you have to arrange those knowledge infrastructure skills in order to be able to incorporate the new kind of methods into the product.
Inbal, anything that specifically helped you?
Yeah, so I think that we have AI hackathons twice a year. And the first hackathon after ChatGPT came, we had a hackathon that was AI based. So all the projects should be like it was a management decision. It was, by the way, not everyone has accepted it well, but the winner in this hackathon can be only people that have AI-based projects. So this was the theme, and actually there were perhaps 30 projects in this hackathon, and maybe 5 out of them became features in production. Not right after, but came into the roadmap and became features.
This is really great because it's building up the next slide, which is Tal. You also used the hackathon in order to like source ideas. So people ask, how do you get people to come up with generative AI ideas? And hackathon is basically both of your answers. When did you exactly do the hackathon? Was it like Inbal saying right at the top?
So it wasn't right at the top. It was in a timeline manners. It was after we started working with some teams, small teams, and TensorOps and developers in some of the teams on features, on developments. And it's not, I think it's not a way, there's no right answer here. I think the answer should be, I think in my view, and I think Inbal also, and they have, I think, a better mechanism in Pendo than we do for those innovations. But I think if a hackathon in past years was kind of an event, somebody's had it, some don't, I recommend you have to do it. You have to do an AI hackathon, but please plan for it, scope it, see what, make sure that you're getting the right value, make sure that you are, it's not, an open-ended, question that you're trying to really, you need to know where you're going. But I think that an event, when you let people stop their day-to-day routines and try to solve problems, I think that the LLM revolution is a must for that, in my view.
I love what you're saying, because effectively the engineers and the product managers and the people are going to get involved. They leave the product day to day. They have a lot of experience as to what's not working, not necessarily what they think is right, but that's exactly the time we want to give them the experience. And Inbal is also saying we limit it. So you're talking about we're limiting the initiatives to maybe some parts of the product. Well, Inbal, you're mentioning you limited the initiatives to only generative AI, right? So which is kind of a different limitation. What were the response to limiting, to telling people can only do generative AI?
People don't like change. So if before that it was unlimited, now it's limited. But actually, it was, I think, one of the best hackathons. So it turned out to be fine.
Nice. Okay. And out of this hackathon, what you will typically have is initiatives, like a table of initiatives, and then you might try to score it. So you're going to say, I have an idea, I'm going to implement AI chatbots. And then you're going to try to evaluate how much it gives you in terms of cost saving to the customer or cost saving to you as an organization. What would it cost you to implement? How much time would it take you to implement? Is it going to impact customer satisfaction? And basically all of these stuff are quite generic. This is, you need to evaluate some kind of the initiative in some way that is translating to business value, and there is frameworks to do that. The question that I have here is, how do you pick from these initiatives and actually decide what goes into the roadmap? So you have a whole list of table. Inbal, what would you do once you have this list of table to actually create a roadmap for execution?
So I categorize the project not only by that, but also by something else. So I'm looking at whether this project is breaking away from the competition or just leveling the playing field with the competition. By the way, we should do both. So our roadmap should have some things that are breaking away and some things that are leveling the playing field. The other thing is, usually we tend to only take small projects, like the low-hanging fruit, because, the smaller effort, we're trying to optimize for the smaller effort and the maximal value to customers. But actually, the larger efforts, they usually also incorporate a lot of value to the customer. And I think that it's important to start them early. So it is important to start somewhere. So I would like to make sure that the roadmap is peppered with big projects and smaller projects, things that break away from the competition and leveling up the playing field, things that are in different, how should I put it, maturity level. So some things that are POCs and some things that we already validated and they are delivery work. So there is a lot of balancing to do when choosing the correct roadmap.
Which resonates with what you said in the beginning, which is if your POCs all succeed, probably you didn't take enough risk. So you should start somewhere at these more risky initiatives in order to be not late too much behind the competition. And it's a huge topic, because I think this is part of why bigger companies adopt generative AI faster than actually smaller startups, because they can't allow themselves to actually spend the money on these POCs they fail, especially in the time of higher interest. And then, like Inbal is saying, you go for these initiatives table, you choose those that will go into the roadmap, and then there is a few very successful initiatives or very happy initiatives that go to the implementation phase. And then what you're probably going to do is you're going to run a POC. You're going to want to see how it works. And we would like to finish this webinar by talking about a few techniques about how to manage the innovation project in the essence of how to effectively run these POCs. And what I would like to say is, when you're running a POC, what you want to do is move fast and break things. And there's a question of how can you run faster? And there's examples to Streamlit, for example. There are wonderful frameworks to create chatbots that might require a lot of integration, and you will have to make sure that your security and compliance and everything. And you can also write a few lines of code in Streamlit and create a chatbot and do a demo for your product manager. So this is the kind of examples that we're going to show. LangChain, yes or no? LangChain allows you to do very quick iterations. Is it the right tool for production? Maybe yes, maybe not, probably not. But do choose these tools that are allowing you to move fast, and we are going to give a few examples. If I would like to say something is invest in infrastructure that's going to allow you to move faster through this innovation. And Tal, the question to you, going back a year, what did help you move fast, and what investment you would have made in order to move faster?
I think that I think what we did right was encouraging our people to innovate, use LLM in context of our product. It gave them clear understanding of the challenges. But I think that what we can do faster is to create an infrastructure that so you don't want people working from the main branches directly connecting the model, getting answers. It's not scalable, it's not monitored, you don't get metrics out of it, and you want to create this infrastructure. So you don't want any team to build its own ecosystem of scaling independently. So I think that's something that you do want to invest in infrastructure to be able to help people build it in the right way and not waste time. So that's something that I think it's a lesson learned in Panaya. And just to reflect a question that I saw in the chat regarding, of course, let's say, so we can get bad answers, and it can cause us problems, okay? But I think, so a programmer came to me some time ago and said, look, we have this, so the model gave us bad answers, we have a problem. And I said, it's not a problem, it's how it is. We have to adopt it, we have to see how we get around it, we have to see the feedback, but so I said, the mindset that I did personally is to see if we want to adopt it, it's not wrong answers. Okay, it's not bad, and I don't think we're going to lose customers from that. On the opposite, I think that a company that doesn't adopt it, the models are getting better, they're getting bigger and faster. If you don't get the right infrastructure now, you're going to be late in the game. So I think it's a combination of the right infrastructure and the mindset.
Which is nice that we agree on the idea that investing in infrastructure is also important already in the innovation phase, at the POC phase, not in the sense of getting you more ready for scale and production, but actually to make the engineers or the researchers move faster and save time on how much they spend on innovation. Inbal, do you have any tips there?
I think that basically, yeah, I very much agree with what you said here about investing in the infrastructure. And I would add, we have at Pendo an infrastructure for all GenAI services because it's a large organization and we have a lot of team dealing with it. We didn't want each team to do their own calls, and we kind of need to manage it somehow. So we very quickly did a central infrastructure where everything is logged and everything is monitored, and there are a lot of best practices that people can use, like some kind of caching mechanism. And every improvement that we add there, on the one hand, it can break everyone, so we need to be careful. But if we do it right, then everybody can leverage every improvement that we add.
So you're kind of building up towards a few topics that I had, which is choose the right stack, the developer stack, and the right infrastructure. So for example, TensorOps is working on an open source called LLM Studio, which is, I'm guessing, very similar to what you're building. Pendo is a large company. Some companies cannot afford to build this kind of infrastructure for themselves. So we released an open source that basically what it does, it unifies all the calls to LLMs or the generative AI models, even beyond LLMs. And it is more suitable. It has a UI, but it also has a backend, and it allows you to communicate in a way that is more efficient. For example, allowing you to see the results. And we're seeing developers trying their way through generative AI, and the first tool is to open VS Code. And VS Code is not a great tool to do generative AI research with, because you write something and you want to go back to the previous version, and you may not necessarily have that versioning for you. So these tools that allow you to iterate over results, very, very important. Another thing maybe that I've seen as a mistake, in my humble opinion, is a lot of the engineers that start to do generative AI are actually machine learning engineers. And they're used to, if I have a model, need to train it. And what is training for generative AI? Well, of course, it's fine-tuning. Fine-tuning is meant to contribute to accuracy. And while it does help you get accuracy, there are other ways to do accuracy. You can do fine-tuning in RAG, you can do prompt engineering. Fine-tuning is relatively slow and expensive process. So especially if you're in the innovation phase, really consider well if you need fine-tuning. We see a lot of companies getting stuck on collecting data, refining data, fine-tuning the model, and then this whole POC is delayed by not choosing the alternative of getting accuracy out of the models in other ways. Some maybe other gross release stuff, no GPUs. Don't try to host your own models in the beginning unless you have really, really good reason to host your own model. Pay by token, reduce the level of infrastructure that you have. So on the one hand, we say invest in infrastructure, but don't invest in infrastructure where you don't need. No need to start hosting your own llama. It's just going to slow you down. Again, consider if you really need fine-tuning. Maybe you do, because your specific task cannot be taught by prompt engineering. But then again, you really need to justify it for yourself. And then invest in LLM ops, stuff like platform that will allow everybody to access the AI in the unified way and log results and see what they got before, because they might get some good answer one time and then they forget what was the prompt that resulted in this good result. So making them think about acceleration of the process. And one thing that I noticed is a lot of these POCs run without a baseline. So you start something and you're getting results and you have a gut feeling if it's good or bad. And over the course of time, you have no metric to how good it was. So do think about a metric that will help you follow along and kind of measure how well are you progressing throughout this generative AI journey. And maybe to wrap it up, you are doing some kind of a POC to manage the innovation. And And these POC, especially with machine learning and data scientists, have a tendency to never end. And Inbal, this one is specifically for you. How do you make sure, because you're managing data scientists directly, how do you make sure that this process is managed and like it doesn't, just have a scope creep?
Yeah, so we always start the process with an EDA, exploratory data analysis, where we kind of explore the area, understand what is the state of the art, the algorithms that are out there to solve the problem. And at this point, we also do something very important that a lot of people forget to do. It's to define acceptance criteria. So a lot of people say, yeah, I'm doing a chatbot, I will do a few things. But what is the acceptance criteria for saying, yes, we are going to continue with this work? There is high feasibility to it. Then we are doing the actual POC, deciding on according to the acceptance criteria. And the last phase is really to a go or no-go decision, to make it very clear whether this POC has succeeded or failed. If it failed, what we have learned from it. Also, if it succeeded, probably we have learned a thing or two. So we can prepare the next one.
And one thing that I think we discussed in the preparation is the idea of having a hypothesis. So you kind of said it, but coming out to this journey saying, can I actually solve this problem with generative AI? Can I reduce the calls? Can I actually answer correctly to a certain level of degree? Is it going to save time for my users if I introduce generative AI? So ask this question, raise an hypothesis. This is the value that it's going to bring to my business, and try to either confirm or dismiss the hypothesis. I think that's a very a good indication. That's a very good way to kind of like make sure that the POC has an end. Tal, would you like to add something to that?
No, I think that also you should think about addressing not just one, but expanding, starting with one, then raising the bar, letting your teams be involved. Don't constrain it only to a small group. Okay, it's too small. Others that may want to join will be frustrated. Okay, the good thing about it, you can move very fast. Okay, very fast. Get the hypothesis, get this POC running, show value. Okay, product, see that you're hitting the right product value, and then scale up to scale up when you're ready to it, or of course dismiss it, take another road.
Yep, I love it. Raising the bar, I think, is a really nice way to go. So we finished the slides. Wanted to wrap up what we basically saw. We saw that there are good guidelines to what could be a good generative AI initiatives, and there are good frameworks to manage them. So yes, you can rely on talent, and you can rely on better, like wait for GPT-5 to come out, and that would of course have impacts on your success and your innovation. But you can also apply frameworks to make sure that your innovation is managed in a more successful way, and you're utilizing your resources in a better way. And then moving fast and breaking things by investing in the right infrastructure, letting your engineers do innovation while they're doing it fast. And most importantly, always remember, why are you even on this track? What are you trying to do? Measure that along the way, and get to the point where you can decide if it's successful or not. And everything I think I said here can apply to every innovation project, but we did try to highlight a few areas that are more relevant to generative AI. And yeah, with that, I would like to thank both Tal and Inbal for this really interesting session. And thank you for sharing with us your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we can get, through God, questions. If you want to follow up on things, we're available. We'll have to meet.
Yeah. Here too.
Okay, bye.